Welcome to the Talk and Chatter experience powered by Gasoline Alley Harley Davidson. Today's guest is business owner, motorcycle enthusiast and coach, and one of the kindest people I know, Mal Dalton. Welcome, mate.
Hey, cheers, mate. Thanks for the wrap up there. That's pretty good.
Yeah, I think knowing you for 12, 18 months now, and seeing the people that you help out along the way and things like that, you are truly one of the kindest people I know.
Yeah, cheers, man. Appreciate it.
Who are you as such? What do you do?
Yeah, what do I do? My name's Mal Dalton. I prefer Malcolm. That's a bit of a joke I have with a few friends.
Or Hollywood too, I've found out last night.
Yeah, Hollywood through some mountain bike days. Because I actually used to do a bit of male modelling, so we try and keep that one on the low.
Did you?
Yeah. Did some country road stuff and some TV ads, and back in my youthful days when I was a bit better looking. And then I did some magazine stories, and we just sort of come up with the handle Hollywood Mal, and that sort of stuck. The guys at the track used to say I was so Hollywood, so we just ran with it. But married, couple of daughters. Daughters are grown up. I love my motocross. Been a motocrosser my whole life. Surfer, mountain biker. Work is something I do to, go and do the fun things that I love doing, mate. So,
yep.
Yeah, that's it in a nutshell, basically.
Just an outdoorsman.
Just someone that loves having fun. Wake up and let's go do something today.
What got you originally into the actual bikes?
Mate, because I was thinking about this last night. So how all this come about is I grew up in a town called Talbingo. Snowy Mountains. It was my dad worked on the Snowy Mountains scheme, and I was 8 years old. The Talbingo had a town hall, and Easy Rider was on at the town hall. So R-rated movie, full of drugs and sex and everything. But me and my mates, we used to go down and watch the movies, and mum and dad didn't care. They knew where we were. So 8 years old, went to see this movie called Easy Rider. It just had a really cool poster. The scene when they roll the choppers out and there was chrome glistening off the Harleys, that I was sold. I was in. And, we watched that movie. We didn't care about any of the, you watch the movie now as an adult and you go, man, it's all about drugs. But back then we were just fascinated with the motorcycles and these guys riding through the desert on these Harleys. Yeah. And to the point that my neighbour at the time, he was 8 years old as well, we made a pact and we said, when we're 30, well, I'll meet you at the desert in America and we're going riding.
Wow.
Never happened, but I always wonder whether he was there.
He's probably still there. Right.
Yeah. So that sort of started the fascination with motorcycles. And, mate, we turned our push bikes into choppers, that whole chopper thing. We went and bought high-riser bars and put in our bikes and a banana seat and a sissy bar, and we were a gang. We started this bikie gang thing. That was basically it, and we just rode our bikes and just loved bikes, and that just had me, fascinated in motorcycles. I have another story about we're visiting my grandmother in a town called Cowra, New South Wales, and again I was about 8, 9 years old, and I could hear this roaring noise up the road, and I went up. And the guy was out in the front yard working on a speedway bike. And he had it up on the side stand. He was revving it and the wheel was spinning. And I was just hanging on the fence as an 8-year-old kid. And this guy looked up and winked at me. And every time I see a young kid now, when I have a bike in my ute or QMP or anything, I just take myself back to that moment and go, it's moments like that define my whole life. Yep. So, that's sort of in a nutshell my motorcycle, how I got into bikes.
Yep. Mate, that's pretty impressive, eh? From that point, you got straight into it. Yep. And I guess that's why, and we'll touch further on it as we go on, but that's probably why you got into coaching now.
Yeah, look, it's funny, I got into this thing with the push bikes, then I turned into a skateboarder. When I got to early teens, I was a 70s teenage kid, so I was a skateboarder, the typical, we're following the California movement on skateboarding. We'd see a magazine and that's what we wanted to do. So bikes become secondary. I had nothing to do with motorcycles until I was a teenager and started mowing lawns.
Yep.
And I went and bought a dirt bike.
What'd you buy?
I bought a HT1 Yamaha for $55.
$55?
Yeah, HT190 Yamaha. Absolute bucket of shit.
Was it?
But my older brother was an apprentice and he bought an XL 175 Honda, and that thing was just, you know, my dream was set. That's what I wanted. I wanted to, you know, I started trail bike riding up the back of, at that time we were living in Cooma. We could drive out our driveway up the bush and we were just motorcycle rats. We were just dirt bike rats, mate. So, you know, 2 or 3 of my mates all had dirt bikes. After school, we'd just go ride dirt bikes. From there, I just sort of progressed on to, you know, my older brother started racing. His friends started desert racing. Right. My fascination with Husqvarna started around then. And then, you know, 17, I'm racing motocross and just loving the sport because I'm now an apprentice and I've got money and I was making $100 a week and I bought a brand new KX 250 in 1982 and, you know, started traveling to Sydney and racing motocross. And
that's fascinating.
And it was funny. I only raced motocross for like 2 years and then I go, I'm a coach. You know, so I just started coaching. I just started coaching. So then, you know, we had all the kids in the town, and I was the only motocross rider in town. Everyone else was enduro riders.
So this is still Cooma?
This is still Cooma, yeah. So in Cooma, I was racing, going away racing motocross, holding my own little schools out at the local track. Yep. Which was another story. The local community got land given to them for enduro track, and I was there was myself and my nephew that was quite young. We're the only motocrossers, but they said, let's build a motocross track. So they literally sent out a big D9 dozer. I was 20, 21. They said, Mal, there's a guy out there to meet you. Go build a track. So I built the track that still stands in Cooma today.
Wow.
And so that was pretty cool. So anyway, we used to go out there and hold motocross schools and get, you know, 10 kids together. And it's funny, I raced VMX on the weekend out at QMP, and there was a guy, I still call him a kid. He was at my motocross school in 1981, 1982, and it's pretty rad. So I still, you know, it was just such a cool time in motorcycles. You didn't need licenses to be a coach. You could just, you know, let everyone know, hey, I'm running a school this weekend, and you charge $40 and 20 kids would turn up. And you just teach them all stuff, and and it literally got motocross started in Cooma, and it was just a truckload of fun.
So your initiation into it, from first getting that bike to becoming like a coach, was quite quick.
Yeah,
really?
It was. I think it was just being a know-it-all, mate. Like just being a 20-year-old punk, you know, and just going, I can ride better than those guys. I should teach. And then people would ask, say, can you teach us? And you know, motocross was just it was just a beginning sport in that town. There was the older guys that were off doing desert racing and enduros, but you know, I was just fascinated with motocross. So yeah, it was cool. And you know, I was an apprentice electrician at the time, and I'd work and we'd finish Friday and I'd pack the car and we'd drive to, you know, Dargle or Amaru Park, and we'd race all weekend and drive home Sunday night and go back to work 7 o'clock Monday. And that was life for 12 years, 11 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you raced all through to 30?
Yeah. We had our first child when I was 30, my daughter Laura, and I went to a Mr. Motocross at Appin, and Mr. Motocross in those days, the top 20 guys were seeded, and there was about 100 guys that would try and qualify through to the last 10 spots on the starting line. And I got a cracker of a start, got up the top of the first corner, seized my bike, and I just went, fuck it, that'll do. And I rolled back down the hill. We had our daughter, Laura was there, in a stroller. And I said, I'm done. And I went around, saw everyone, and guys like Heffo were racing at that time, and Glenn Bell, and I went around, guys, I'm packing it up. And they go, oh, you're going home? I go, no, I think I'm done racing. I think it's time to be a family man. So I just walked away from bikes. So I sold my bike the next week and just went cold turkey. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So I was 30, just went cold turkey, and I went windsurfing instead. So
still kept active. Because to look at you now, like you're, you've gotten back in all chips in, you know?
Yeah, it's kind of funny. So had nothing to do with dirt bikes for 10 years.
Yep.
Got to 40. A mate of mine, a top-level pro mountain bike racer.
Yep.
Was staying at my place. We're on the Gold Coast now. We moved to the Gold Coast, and he was staying at home, and he goes, I'm thinking of buying a dirt bike. And I go, yeah, I might get one too. So I went and bought a piece of shit YZ252 stroke for like a couple of grand. And I thought, this is fun. But then I didn't just want to ride in the bush. So I wanted to go to a motocross track. Yeah. So I'm 40 years old now. And I felt like an old man. I just felt, man, I put a helmet on and my face would push in. Yeah. And I go, man, I'm just like, this is going to be embarrassing. I used to remember when I was 20 and these old dudes come out riding, and I was embarrassed for them. So we joined the Reedy Creek Club. Yep. And I went, these guys aren't going that fast. So someone goes, oh, dude, you should race. I haven't raced for a long time. So I went and raced at Reedy Creek on a Saturday night. And I've heard you reference Reedy Creek before. And man, what an era.
Top spot it was.
Yeah. So that just, I'm all in again. I went out, bought a YZ426, and I'm back racing. And,
wow.
I'm 40 years old, and that year, what was I, 40? I raced for a couple of years. I got back to pro level. I got a pro ranking again in Queensland. I'd go and do whatever races I could. I'd race pro class. I'd get my ass kicked, but, I'd expect that. I'd be mid-pack. Yeah. I'd race vet class. I'd win everything in vet class. Yeah. And we did that for another 5 years. So me and my wife just packing the car and going bike racing and having a ball.
Back to it.
Yeah. And then 45, I did that for 5 years, and I just went, I'm done. I
cold turkey again.
Cold turkey. Raced a whole year. Did all the sunny states, all the Thundercross, the Thumper Nats.
Jeez, mate, that's a huge year.
Yeah, I did over 100 starts, so 100 motocross starts. And I was racing pro class and vet class at nearly everything that I went to. Yeah. Won a heap of vet stuff in Queensland. And in 05, my last race in 2005 was a tri-club championship at Tivoli.
Yep.
So I'm leading the pro championship over the three clubs, and I'm leading the vet championship. Yeah. There was one guy that in vet class that could never beat me all year long, and I won't say I threw the race, but he beat me in the last race, and the elation that I saw in his face when he was double fist pumping over the finish line, I was up his back wheel. Yeah, I was so pumped, and I just went, let's park it. So I went and put my bike in the van and drove home, and I thought I'll sit it in the garage for 2 weeks, see how I feel. After 2 weeks, I just went, yeah, man, I'm done. I had a really nice black Mercedes-Benz Vito and sold the bike, sold the jet wash, and went and bought a surfboard and just went surfing. I just went, right, I'm going to learn how to surf. And
so you didn't surf till your 40s?
I had a surfboard earlier, but never really got into it.
Yeah,
and
right.
then I in my 40s, I just went, man, this is cool. I surfed every day. I literally went down to the beach every day and just was like a total kook.
Yep.
Still am. But just love it.
Love it.
So, yeah.
Because like a Snowy Mountains kid and then Cooma, like base of Snowies.
Yeah.
It's not really a surf town, is it?
Yeah. Funny enough, though, Cooma's only 100 k's from the coast.
What's it? Brown Mountain?
Yeah, down Brown Mountain. Yeah. So my dad was into his fishing.
Ah, right.
So when we grew up, we grew up in Tathra and Bermagui as kids. So Dad would pack the car and we'd shoot down the coast. So we were always in the water down there. And my mum and dad ended up retiring in Bermagui. So that's that's my go-to place.
I got family in Bermagui.
No shit. All right. There's a whole nother story to open up right there. So
beautiful spot. That
it's mate. What I love about Bermagui, if most people know where the town is, my mum. My mum turns 80 next year. She'll go downtown and school holidays, and she'll go, I couldn't get a car parked in front of the butcher shop. And you just go, man, we've been on the Goldie for 25 years, and it's like, times are tough, huh, when you can't park in front of the butcher shop. Another time I was surfing out at Camel Rock, and there was like 4 guys out, and it was Easter weekend. It was still board shorts. I think I had a 1 mil hot shirt on. The water was still like 20 degrees. It was good. There was 4 guys out there surfing, and I heard two guys talking to each other, and they go, dude, fucking welcome to the school holidays, eh?
4 people.
There was 4 people. So, man, it's a great place. I love it.
Would you like to get in the water there nowadays?
Yeah, who knows? It's safety in numbers. Every time there's one other person, it's 50%. And I look at that. I don't like surfing the South Coast solo.
Yeah, fickle.
I like to see a couple of guys out. And
Yeah.
the good thing down there, mate, there's no aggro, and you can go out with 3 or 4 guys and local dudes, and they all say g'day, and yeah, it's fun.
It's not that real small town mentality, tribalism, I guess you say.
Got a good little story about surfing in Bermagui. I was out surfing once at Cuttagee, south of Bermagui, and there was a young Aboriginal dude out surfing. Right. And I go, hey, man, how you going? He goes, yeah, good. He goes, oh, where are you from? And I go, from Queensland. I said, my mum lives down here. My parents live here in Burmy. He goes, oh, that's cool. I go, where are you from? He goes, hey, man, I'm from here. And I go, oh, yeah, that's cool. He goes, oh, I live in Wollongong. But he goes, see that old man fishing on the beach? That's my granddad. And he goes, his granddad was here and his granddad was here. And I go, hey, thanks for letting me surf at your beach, mate. So,
how cool is that?
Yeah, and I thought that was really cool.
What a moment.
Yeah, that was really special. It was just me and this 100% local dude out
true local
surfing.
person.
A true local, so
you get that in northern New South Wales, obviously where I grew up a bit. I'm a local. That's like 2 years.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but anyway, it's transient cultures everywhere now, isn't it? So, what's your where'd your affection with Husqvarnas come from?
All right, so mid-teens in Cooma.
Yep.
All the tradies in town had cash. So
okay.
all the tradies were the guys that had cash. They had Land Rovers. I haven't spoken to your mate Andrew about that, but they had Land Rovers with V8 Holden motors, and they had Husqvarnas.
Yeah, right.
And they all had the late 70 model Husqvarnas. So the black and gold Husqvarna CR390s. So, I'm riding around on what I can afford, and these guys have got the Rolls Royce of motorcycles, gold rims, and that was it, just the imagery of Husqvarna. And then also, 1970s, on any Sunday, come out, and the whole Malcolm Smith vibe and Husqvarna again. And so just the logo, the image, to me, that is off-road racing.
Yeah.
And these guys in town, actually, I'll mention one of the fellas' names. His name was Bede Nichols. Anyone from Cooma knows Bede. Bede was like the forefront of off-road riding and racing in Cooma, and he was a John Wayne character, 6'5", big bushy moustache, and he was the husky guy. Yeah. And he unfortunately died in a mountain bike accident a few years ago. In his early 70s, he went over the bars and had a spinal injury and died on the track. And it's dying what you love, and die doing what he loved. But the fact is, my thing with Husqvarna, I attribute to him, to this one guy. So this Husqvarna that I built recently, this Husqvarna 500, it was sort of a bit of a tribute to this fella as well. Yeah.
Tell me about the 500.
All right, man. So 1983, I raced a Husqvarna CR250. So white, it was the first of the white Husqvarnas. My mate Bede organised the bike for me through Husky Imports. So he got this bike, and it was just... Visually, it was amazing. Yeah. On the racetrack, nowhere near what everyone else is up to. Everyone else is already water cooled, twin, disc brakes front and back, single shock. I'm still racing a twin shock drum brake, air cooled 252 stroke. Anyway, we, did race that thing for 6 months or 9 months or whatever. This year, I did a solar install. I'm a solar electrician. That's my business. I did a job for a guy up the Sunshine Coast. That's a husky nut. And he had this shed full of these huskies. And I was just like, man, this takes me back. Check these things out. And he goes, oh, look, we're going to go out for a ride day on them soon. Give me your number and I'll invite you out. So about a month goes by and he rings. He goes, Mal, I'm going out with Jimmy Deacon. James Deacon's coming out. He's riding the 4-stroke and I'm taking the other 500 out. If you want to come out for a ride, we're going on this private track. Come out. And I've got a brand new Husky 450 at that stage, motocrosser. And next minute I'm geared up and I'm riding a 1983, I think it's called a TC 510 Husqvarna 4-stroke, twin shock, drum brakes. Yeah. And I just went, this is the shit. This is so much fun.
But you loved it.
I loved it. I got back on my new 450. First, I nearly went over the bars on the new 450 because the brakes were just so aggressive. The power on the new 450 was aggressive. I just love the mellow, big pussycat feel of this big 4-stroke. So then I just went, I'm getting one. I got to get one of these things. But the 4-strokes are about a 10 grand bike. They're really hard to find.
Yeah, okay. Yep.
So next best thing, James was there, and I know James pretty well, and he was going, man, this 500's good. I was about to get onto the 500 and it pissed down rain. So one thing I find with VMX bikes, a lot of guys, if it rains, you don't ride them because you're just going to trash them. So I didn't get to ride the 500 that day, but that was it. I said to this fella from the sunny coast, I said, get me one. I want one of these Huskies.
Yep.
So we found a few that were ready to go. And I went, there's no fun in that.
Yep.
I didn't want the bike, you know, built and shiny and glossy. And there was one that I could have got. So we found this one that needed work. And I went, yeah, let's get that. So
have you done all the work on that?
Pretty much did all the chassis, all the framework, got all the stickers, everything organised from the UK.
Yep.
It was just, you know, it's just like working on a dirt bike. We had a few problems with the motor. We had a split crankcase and clutch basket. We couldn't get one here in Oz.
Yep.
We found there were a few parts in people's sheds, but because it's a common fault, they don't want to part with them.
Yep.
So Sean, the Husky guy, sourced the parts for me from Canada.
Yep.
Built the bike up. It just looks amazing. You've seen photos of it.
For sure, and I'll put some on this as well.
Yeah, it's such a rad bike, and I've only ridden it 3 days, and on Sunday I was racing it out at QMP. The bike kicked back once and blew the clutch basket and split the crankcase again. So we're sending emails back to Canada and chasing up new parts. But in one point, I'm not that pissed off about it. It's you know, I was riding the bike hard on the weekend, and when I did it up, I only spray painted the frame. So now I've fully stripped it. We've sent the frame just around the corner from here to get powder coated, and so it'll come back bigger, better, faster, stronger. And we'll put a decompression valve in it this time, so it doesn't kick me back. And I think we'll put an electronic ignition on, so we know the ignition timing will be spot on. And yeah, man, it's funny. I actually built the bike not to race it. I built it to go out to anyone that knows me through bike riding knows. What I love about bike riding is just going out and hanging out. I love Saturdays at QMP, just hanging out with the boys, doing laps, play racing.
Yep.
That's what I'm all about. I built the 500 to do that. You know, take the 500 out, do some laps, chase down some modern bikes, and have a piss ball fun on it.
Yep.
But the weekend was a race day. I went, all right, let's go out and race it. There was 3 classes I was eligible to race.
Yep.
So I went, I'll race all 3,
so
which is 9 motos.
Mate.
So I did 6 motos on the thing, and I never got to race apples for apples. You know, it was a VMX race meeting, but I was lining up against 95 model CR 500s.
Yeah, okay.
So I'm on a starting line. It's like, I don't give a shit.
Yep.
You know, I want to chase these guys down, and I gave it a good crack. I got like 3rds and 4ths, and
nice.
I was happy with that. But we only got 6 motos in. End of the 6th moto, I lost. There was nuts and bolts of my bike all over the track. So I just went, no, that's it. It's done. It's starting to rattle apart.
Yep.
We've pushed it too hard. Let's pack it up and go home. And then that's when I found the split in the crankcase.
Wow.
So yeah, anyway, well, she's a big pile of nuts and bolts on my floor again now.
It is like, and I will put the photos in, but it looks good now. I can't wait to see it be powder coated. And
yeah, we'll get you out for a ride on it. And it's
I love that.
It's actually really mellow. It's okay. The Huskies of that era were designed for European tracks, whereas the Japanese bikes, the 500s, were more or less designed for US tracks. So they were designed under the feet of, you know, Ricky Johnson and Ron Lachine. So they wanted hard-hitting, aggressive bikes. The Euro guys wanted mellow 500s. Yep. So they're a longer stroke motor. Mm-hmm. It's just a big pussycat.
So more like, instead of punchy, more corner speed.
Yeah.
Nice power coming out.
4-speed gearbox.
Yeah, right.
Put it in 3rd and go.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait to. I can't wait to see it in real life. And I'd love to take you up and
we'll get you on a ride on it, mate. It's going to be a fun day.
Yeah, that'd be cool. That'd be really, really cool. And I hopped on to Josh's 97 250.
Yeah.
And like that's not vintage, nothing like that. But it's amazing to go back and think when I was riding those at the time that this thing's pretty full on. But now after riding the modern 450s and that, they got way more snap now than ever, don't you think?
The new 450s they're just amazing things to ride. Yeah. It's really funny. I rode the Husky last weekend. I've just bought a YZ 450, so I've got a 2020 450F.
Yeah.
So I rode the Husky, leave the helmet on, did a moto on the Husky, come in, jumped on the Yamaha and went out. And you just appreciate how good these new bikes are. Like the braking is phenomenal.
Yep.
And, you know, guys are still putting bigger rotors and braided lines and, you know, I have my front brake nearly into the handlebar, and that's still so much power in that in that front brake. The power of the motor is just, you know, there's it's just a magic carpet ride from go to woe.
Oh, it's endless.
You know? Yeah, and but you know, it's funny. Ain't nothing rail like the Husky 500 around a corner. You can hit an outside line on that thing, and it's just magic. Yeah, and I think it's because it's a bit softer, so the suspension settles in, and just the geometry. It's just a beautiful thing to ride.
That's cool. I'd definitely take you up on that, mate. I'd like to have a ride or something.
Enjoyment factor. Last weekend riding the Yamaha and the Husky won. It was more fun. Yeah.
I think that's, and you probably agree with this. That's why the VMX movement's grown so much, eh? Everyone's enjoying it so much. Man,
like that's the first. I've raced a VMX once. The tribute to Tivoli that was on a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
A mate rolled out a YZ125G and said, go and race it. So we got it off his trailer, started it, and they were calling my race to the line. So I'd never. I go, what gear do I start this thing in?
So you've never been on it?
Never been on it. Yep. Radiator on the front, like on the fork legs.
Right.
So I went out, loved this thing. I was seat jumping all the jumps, and there's some really cool photos I'll send you of me racing a YZ252 stroke, a modern bike, on the same track, on the same day, on the same jump.
Oh, really?
Exactly the same body position.
Yep.
Little seat jump over a tabletop, and it was interesting taking like a old school modern technique onto an old bike that bike never would have been ridden with that technique in that day.
No.
And it was fun. So that sort of got a little bit of a bug.
Yep.
For a little bit of a bug for it, but it never acted on it. Went out to my first VMX race the other day, and it's just so chilled and relaxed.
Yeah.
You know, I go, they said 6:30. I get there at 6:30, and like people are asleep. You know, and then 8 o'clock they go, we'll push riders briefing back to 8:30, and there was just there's no anxiety, no stress, and you get to the line and dudes are just, how you going, man? And that bike looks sick, and you know, guys wearing 1980 JT racing gear, and I felt overdressed just wearing Black Fox. You know, like I had no logos, and I felt completely inappropriately dressed for this race meeting. But it was just such a cool vibe, and I might find a little home there. I think it's you know. I don't know if you know of James Deacon, but so James was a Craig Dack, Glenn Bell era motocross racer, top 3, top 5 guy in Australia, and amazing talent. Still is on a motorcycle. He won the world. He went over and raced his CR 500 at Farley Castle last year, and he won. So he's a world champion in vet class, same age as me basically. So he's sort of he's into it, and for me, it's kind of, I just didn't want to go and find this nerdy bunch of guys. It's like, well, here's a cool guy that I like, that I enjoy being with. If he's there, I'm going. And James broke his thumb the week before we went racing. So he was there with his son, though, who had a pretty bad accident on the weekend and got hurt. So all the best to young Griffin. I hope he's doing well. But it's kind of cool, and it's just old dudes on old bikes, man, and everyone's having fun. There's a lot of young guys out there too. Like there is a lot of young guys out there. There was a fella there, I don't know his name. He was on a 1974 Mako 500. He was hauling this thing. He was
Jeff Ballard?
No, not GB. This guy was probably 25, 26.
Yep.
Man, he was hauling on this thing.
Wow.
And it's cool. You know, you get some young kids out there that are fast on these, especially like the 90 model 250s and 500s. And it's a good spectacle. It's just cool. And, you know, guys coming over and appreciating the build on your bike. I mean, and
you don't get that with the modern stuff.
Man, no, I hope you don't mind me swearing, but there's no fucking ego, mate. You know, like there's just no ego attached where, you know, when I was in moto, you know, anyone that races motocross, that, you know, don't lie. You all know it's the truth. It's just packed full of ego. It's what wheels you run on your car and what trailer you got. And, you know, you don't rock up in a box trailer. You know, I started off-road racing a few years ago, and guys are in box trailers and bikes laying down in utes, and I went, this is cool. There was no ego attached, mate. And, you know, Toby was still here racing in Australia, and you could go and say hey to Toby, and it's like, why isn't motocross like this in Australia? Why are these guys so up themselves?
It's going
sorry,
through.
guys. Sorry, all the motocross guys, but just pump the brakes a bit. Just have a bit more fun.
Just enjoy it.
Yeah, I watched your podcast with Dan,
Yep.
and Dan basically displays that attitude as well. He's just a cool dude that rides moto, and I'm sure he had his era when he was, I'm sure anyone can go up to Dan and just say g'day, and I think Dean Ferris much the same. Dean's just a very down to earth guy, but there's a lot of guys that. Man, if you're not wearing the right T-shirt with the right sock/shoe combo, you're not cool. So.
And I think that's what's good about like some of the fringe sports that you see in racing. I look at, like, we did the flat track thing on Saturday, which was a practice for it. But same deal, like, just fun, like just really good people that just want to ride bikes and just have a good time.
Fun's the thing, mate. Like when I do coaching now, I actually say to the kids, one of the first things I do, especially when the parents are around, and I've been teaching a few young off-road kids that want to race enduro as well. And I just go, look, if you ain't having fun, park it. Go put your bike in the ute. Say to your dad, I'm not feeling it, mate. I just want to go home. Like if it's not fun, don't ride bikes. So you mentioned GB before, like good mates with Jeff. Here's the spotlight for having fun on a motorcycle. Like the 61 years old.
Is he 61?
61, mate. Sorry, Jeff. He'll ride a bike every day of the week. Doesn't matter, adventure bike. Just won't ride an e-bike. Don't mention the word e-bike.
Oh, really? Is he a hater?
Yeah. Well, we won't go into that, but he's a hater. But
gold.
Just that's what it's about. You and I started riding motorcycles for fun. I started riding bikes when I was a kid for fun. Make it fun now, and that's why I'm still riding. I'm 57 years old now, and I love riding bikes, mate. And I think that vibe comes out of me when I'm at the track and hanging out, and I don't feel like an old dude at all, mate.
It's the best thing you can do. And when a helmet goes on, it doesn't matter. Like no one knows.
Actually, I kind of let them know sometimes if I get QMP, you'll get the rear wheel warrior that'll jump on. They'll watch you do a few laps, and they normally wait till you're about 15 minutes into a moto.
Tag on.
And it's like, all right, I'll up it and I'll have a bit of a crack, and then I don't mind taking my helmet off then and going, well, you should be a bit embarrassed, mate, that you didn't pass me on lap one. So, but it's just, I have fun, mate. I make it safe for myself. I don't want to get hurt. And, I'm lucky and fortunate enough to be fit and healthy that I can still, throw down on a motorcycle and have fun. I listen to Chris Kiefer a bit, and Kiefer talks on his podcast, and he goes, when he no longer looks relevant, he'll hang up his boots. And I think that's, if my riding style starts to look too shitty, I might just go, I might park it. But that's ego taking over. So
just got to enjoy it.
I think I'll just keep riding and having fun, mate.
Yeah, just keep enjoying it. Yeah. Did you ever get any big injuries along the way? Because you're saying you're 57, you're fit, healthy, 57. Did you get any big ones?
Collarbones.
Nothing bad.
Yeah, collarbones. I did a collarbone like when I was 13. I did them outside of racing, just riding dirt bikes, mate. So
but touch wood, like it's been a good time.
Yeah. Probably my biggest injuries were concussions. I had a big concussion, Sydney Entertainment Centre, 1988.
Yeah.
And got amboed out and thought I was in a car crash. That was a big one. Had a head on at Tivoli in 2004 and got landed on.
Would someone get cross-rutted or something coming the other way?
Yeah, unfortunately for a good friend of mine, he was coming. It was a practice day, club day. First lap of practice, I jumped out on the track in front to get out of the mud. I had white Fox gear on, looked pretty sick, so didn't want to get muddy. We were on passing loops on the track. He got cross-rutted on a tabletop jump, speared across the track, hit a water pipe, got airborne, hit me. I'm coming the other way, fourth gear, over a blind jump, and my bike hit his leg. He got a double femur break, and I got knocked out cold and smashed an Arrow helmet in half, and woke up on the ground thinking I just had no idea what was going on. So I thought that was the end of my riding then. That was 04. That was a 6-month rehab.
Yeah, okay.
To even want to get back onto a bike. And then I went out with some mates out to Black Duck when it used to be open.
That's right,
still had a dirt bike, went out and rode and did a few laps and sit down, had a little cry. I went, yeah, feeling pretty good. I had suspected spinal injuries. That was at the end of the day. They thought I'd damaged my neck. So I had that sensation, which I'm sure a lot of riders have had, of wheeling down hospital corridors, looking at fluoro lights and just going, like, is this it? Is this it? But I knew I had feeling in my toes. So I had that going for me. And I was in there for, I think, 12 hours. And then, no, you're good, mate. You can go home. It's like, oh, okay.
Mate, that's,
So, concussions.
Yeah.
One knee injury, a couple of collarbones, and broken fingers. When I started off-road racing, little fingers, started smashing fingers on trees. So I never experienced that.
Yep.
Actually, going off-road racing, I never experienced scratched helmets. So
yeah, that sucks about that part of enduro.
that was the motocrosser coming out of me then when a mate goes, get a bike with a headlight, mate, and come riding. And I went riding with him. So I went and bought a Husky 250
TCs?
TC? Anyway,
they changed them over the two different,
And I went out with him and I got all these branch scratches on my helmet. I go, what the hell is all this shit, you know?
Yep.
Yeah, so that was my first day off-road riding.
Don't get that in motocross.
Yeah, you just, wash the roost off with the mud. So, but, so that was, I suddenly went from being a old crusty motocross rider to going, this off-road stuff looks like pretty good fun. Let's go and have a crack at that. So,
you enjoyed that too?
Yeah, so I'm sort of going off on a tangent, but what I didn't enjoy about just trail bike riding was I thought the world now become a motocross track. So I was going just balls out everywhere. I'd go out to Glass House and it was just pinning it. And I had a couple of crashes and realised that isn't what you do. And I thought I was going to get hurt. So same guy that said to me, get a bike with a headlight, asked me to come along to an AORC round. They needed some riders just to ride the track. And they had to be non-racers. And I went, okay, I'll come out. And then suddenly I'm on this closed course where there's no one coming the other way. I know no one's going to be coming the other way.
Yeah.
And I could go flat out. I went, this shit is fun.
Yeah.
So, actually, I'm going to tell this story. So, I then went, you know what? When's this race on? And they go, it's on in 2 weeks. I go, all right, now that I've raced it, but now that I've ridden the track, can I still come and race it? They go, well, yeah, you're old. So I just went there. I'm not going to go and win. So I entered the Masters class and went out and actually that day when I flooded my Husky, I dropped it in a creek, the only creek crossing, flooded a barrel full of water, to tip it upside down, get the water out. So that was my introduction to off-roading. I went and raced this off-road race, but I went as a motocross dude. So I had like brand new Answer racing gear, brand new, like I just looked sick. I had roll-offs. I was washing my bike in between like heats, and no one else is washing their bike. And in off-road racing with these sprint races, what happens is you do your first race, then they seed you for your second race on your results of your first race. So I'm looking around, there's all these middle-aged dudes that are overweight. And I'm just going, man, I'm fit, healthy. I'm going to smash all these guys, and there's chicks there. And I didn't know who Gemma Wilson was. And Taylor Jones. I didn't know they're just girls on bikes. I'm
absolute killers on a bike.
Yeah. So I do race one.
Yeah.
I go, smashed it, come in, smashed it. So I go, they sound the horn, go back over. I go to my wife Diana. I go, I better get over there early because I'm going to be called up pretty early for the next race. I just sat there and sat there and sat there, and they're just calling all these riders and all these slightly frumpy, overweight dudes with number plates on their camelbacks are getting called up in front of me, and I'm going, that guy beat me. And then all the girls are already gone, and there's like, I'm looking around, there's like 3 or 4 guys left, and I'm going, far out, like I'm really shit. I'm really shit at this. And I turned up on this sparkling bike for race number 2, and even the guy at the start goes, what are you doing back here? And I go, I think I'm just really shit, mate. So yeah, so that kind of made it fun for me because I was a Neville nobody in this new sport.
You're back here.
Yeah. And actually that weekend,
where was this one?
That was at Kilkeven.
Okay,
and it was like 38 degrees, stinking hot. But they put me in, because it was my first off-road race, they put me in Masters Clubman class. And I'd actually won that by quite a margin, and I felt I was sandbagging. So I went and changed it. So I went and saw the timekeeper and I said, look, I just feel a bit unfair for the guy that's in second.
Yeah.
And so I went and said, look, can you just put me into Masters Expert? That's where I should be riding. And he goes, yeah, okay, cool. So he took me off the score and put me onto that. So I went back and saw the dude I was camping next to, and I said, oh, look, I just took my name off. I think I was in the wrong class. And he goes, oh, really? What class were you in? I said, I was in Masters Clubby. I was winning it. I've gone back over to the other class. He goes, oh, he was the guy that was in second place. So him and I become good mates out of that. And,
so you didn't know that until you said that to him?
Didn't know that. I didn't know he was in second, and he won the event for our age group in the clubby class, and he was stoked. And the trophy wasn't that important to me. I felt I had to be getting my ass kicked, by the guys in my class, and they were kicking my ass, mate. So then I just got love for off-road racing and did, the next year raced all the Aussie off-road rounds. It was the last round of, it must have been 2016. We travelled to Penshurst in Victoria, got to the track. The road was flooded. I was in an XR6 ute with my bike in the back. It was 1,975 Ks to the track.
From home?
From home. I get to the track, and I've just seen a SS Commodore get flooded in this creek crossing. The track's just on the other side of the creek. So I've only got to go 1 kilometre to get to the pits. So I'm sitting there on my ute, and it's just Diana and myself, and I go, I don't know about this. And then a guy with a tractor comes along and goes, oh, throw all your shit on here, mate, and we'll get it over there. And I'm going, yeah, but how am I going to get back at the end of the day? And pulled up on my phone and looked at the points, and I was running 5th in the Masters class in the Aussie off-roads, which is over 45s. And I looked at the points, and I go, I can't get 4th, and I can't get 6th. So I just said to Di, is it a bit piss weak if I just say it's not going to be fun and go home? So I just did a Yui. I did get my
Another
bike.
2,000 Ks?
Yeah, we just drove 2,000 Ks home.
Mate.
Yeah.
Understandably, though.
Yeah.
Imagine that event if the getting into it's flooded.
Yeah, but to our good fortune, on the way home, we stayed at Karua near Newcastle on the way home.
Yep.
And I'm flying up the highway, and Josh Green rings. And Greenie was out with a knee injury, so he wasn't doing the off-road championships.
Yep.
I'm looking at the phone going, what's he ringing for? So, yeah, mate, what's up? And he goes, there's a turning bay 1K up the road, do a Yui. I'm going, what? He goes, yeah. I'm at the gate of the island.
Oh, yeah?
And the island wasn't open, but they were having a ride day there. So went up the highway, did a Yui, met Josh at the he was waiting for a mate, and saw my ute going up the highway. Like a black XR6 with what did I have then? A brand new KTM 450 in the back, so it stood out like dog's tits.
Yeah.
So he goes, dog's balls is the expression. I rode this perfectly dry, dust-free track at the island all day. So I drove 4,000 Ks to ride there for the day and have a clean bike. And then I saw all the images of the race at Penshurst, and it was just a shit fest. They were, they had to tow every vehicle out. Oh, no. Guys were walking around a foot of mud, and it's going back to the fun factor. No way in hell I wouldn't have enjoyed 1 minute of it.
No, not at all. What's the island like?
It was rad. I mean, that was 4 years ago, so I'm sure they've made changes, but
it looks like the best. Probably one of the best complexes.
It looks good, yeah. It was all the tracks, everything was there. That was at the point when they were having council approval issues with the entrance off the highway. So
they had to build a road or something, didn't they?
Yeah, had to put a turn-in lane.
Okay, so what it was. Yep.
Yeah, so we were there. It was probably 18 months before it was opened.
Yep.
So I think the guy that owned it at that time was having invitational days, and there was, I think, 20 guys were allowed there, and I was lucky enough to be one of those 20 that day by chance of being on a highway at a certain time of the day. Yeah, so it was cool. Yeah.
Go back to your racing.
Yes.
The entertainment centre races. So how many did you do? What did you do?
Yeah. Then? Okay, so
because they were like the peak of
late 80s, mate. Yeah. There was late 80s. There was no Supercross and motocross season like there is now. It was just a season. So
what do you mean?
Okay, we would race motocross at Oran Park on this weekend.
Yep.
The next weekend we'd be racing Supercross. Then the next weekend, you'd be racing motocross. And it was just
so it wasn't divided up
wasn't
into...
divided.
Yeah.
No. So there was... you were just racing different events. So we didn't know much about suspension. I had a pack of washers in my forks to make the forks a bit stiffer. And I had my last year racing was on I'd love to have it now. It was an 89 YZ250. Mm-hmm. I'd love to have that bike now. And I like telling the story about back in that day, like the late 80s.
Yep.
You'd have 100 guys to qualify for a Supercross final.
100
guys. There'd be 4 heats of 25 riders on the line to qualify down to 22 spots for the final.
That's ridiculous now.
That was Supercross.
Yeah.
But 1986, we were racing at Mr. Motocross at Oran Park, which was just an amazing venue. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you ever saw that or...
I've been there. Yep.
Yeah, so it was a great venue. 6 deep around the fence. Big events. It was the heyday of motocross. Like Daki was on top of his game, and it was just a good era.
Because they were sending like Roger DaCosta and that over to those two, weren't they?
This was well after that era.
After that?
Yeah.
But he did do some Mr. Motocross, I'm pretty sure, too.
Yeah, it's sort of before my era. So
okay.
This was like the tail end of... It was I just call it the Craig Dack era, was when Daki was dominant.
Just at the top.
Yeah. So they made the announcement at Mr. Motocross that there's going to be this big venue announcement, and everyone's going, so we're all going, oh, this is going to be cool. It's going to be the Sydney Showground or something. It's going to be some big event. And they announced the Sydney Entertainment Centre Supercross, which was, a tennis centre. It's a tennis court, and they're going to hold an indoor Supercross there. So entries went out. It was a limited entry list.
Yep.
And I was lucky enough to get an entry for it. And raced. I actually raced the first ever Supercross race in that venue. So I was still a C grader.
Yep.
I was in an invitational C grade race. I think there was 20 C graders in it. Might have been 40, and they had to qualify through anyway, whatever the system was. But it was like this prestigious event. It suddenly lifted Supercross from being at a showground to, there was, I mentioned to you earlier, there was, pit mums wearing fur coats. There was, it was a prestigious event.
Yep.
And it was so rad. And, we got to walk the track in the afternoon, and it was just, we couldn't believe they'd built this Supercross track in this little venue.
Yep.
And when we walked the track and did practice, it was an empty stadium, so it was very echoey, as you've been to Brisbane and that sort of thing, what they're like when there's no crowd.
Mm.
So we weren't allowed back into the venue until race time, and we were first race. So we roll up, these big doors open, and I think it holds 15 or 17,500 people.
Yep.
It just erupted, and we were just C-grade punters rolling up to the starting line of this race. We were looking at each other. You couldn't even hear the bikes. I've actually got a photo on my Insta of the start of that race. So I should try and flick it over to you.
Yeah, for sure.
So they had an orchestra's pit in the entertainment centre, and the track went down into the orchestra's pit and out again. And on the first lap, there was a pile-up in that orchestra's pit. I got out of the shit, and I was leading the race, so the first ever race. Because there's only 8 guys on the line, because 3 guys didn't finish the race, 15,000 people started yelling out, rerun.
Oh, no.
Yeah, they reran the race, and I finished 4th or something, but it was still just an experience. We'd done Supercrosses, and we'd raced in showgrounds, and it was the first time where the crowd was like part of the racing. So
you could hear the crowd every...
Yeah, it was deafening, and because it was new to the crowd, it was cool. But that really ignited Supercross in Australia. It was just, there was so many different promoters, and we were racing wherever there was a speedway. They'd build a Supercross track, and there'd be a different promoter. So we'd race Newcastle, Canberra. We're just traveling constantly. You do a Supercross on Saturday, and then the next weekend it'd be New South Wales motocross titles at Mount Kembla.
Yep.
It's
just constant on the go.
It's just the same bike.
Yep.
Yeah.
So no Supercross suspension back then. And
no Supercross suspension, yeah.
A few different washers.
And I'm pretty good friends with a guy's name's Mark Luksic. He's involved with the Honda team now. So Mark used to be Glenn Bell's manager back in the day. So when Belly was, Honda rider for Australia, Mark was his personal manager and mechanic, and went to all the races with him. And Mark is still involved in the sport today, which is really cool. And I saw Mark at Jim Boomer Supercross last year, and he goes, it's no different. He goes, it's no different. He goes, in fact, the stuff you guys were doing was more dangerous than this, because like some of the Supercross promoters were making the up ramps out of steel triangular frames with timber panels.
No.
And they were just like cheese blocks on the ground that you'd hit.
Just wedges.
Yeah, and then, stutter bumps and whoops were made out of, concrete pipes and just dusted over with dirt. And
yeah, it's a bit sketchy.
Yeah, there was no timing to anything. It was just literally come out of a corner and just, all right, hit this triple. I'm going to have to try and pin it. So
what did you race back then? What did you get through in that time? Obviously, you said 89, you had a YZ250, but before that, what was...
race a few Kawasaki's, Hondas. I had quite a few Hondas.
Did you?
I had the Honda, probably one of my favourite bikes is, I think they call it the Fat Boy. It had the low pipe on the Honda CR250.
Yep.
That
like
was
an 86 or something
like that, 87 maybe.
7, yep.
Then I actually had a KTM, maybe 88 KTM upside down fork.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty sick.
Yep.
I rode that for one season. That one sent me to the hospital in Sydney with a concussion. They had a reputation for hitting a false neutral if you preloaded on a jump.
Yep.
And you go to hit the power off, it'd click neutral.
Just go neutral.
Yeah, so it just threw me over the handlebars into the face of a ramp and in the Sydney Entertainment Centre. Yeah, so that was, I think, 88. I ended up in St Vincent's Hospital with suspected spinal injuries and a pretty bad concussion. So, yeah.
Were they good times apart from that?
It was, it was fun. And I think it was fun because it was just a big brotherhood. Everyone was mates.
So everyone got on then?
Everyone got on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, even... just you could go and talk to any of the top pro guys. You'd walk the track. You'd walk the track with the top pro guys. Yep. Everyone, whether you were a C grade or a B grade or A grade, there was no pro, intermediate, amateur. It was A, B, C grade. I only got to B grade at that point. B grade put you in A grade. Mm-hmm. So it was always combined A and B grade. So I got to race, Jeff Lees, Craig Dack, Glenn Bell. Got to line up against absolute legends of the sport.
For sure.
Eddie Warren. To be on a track with these guys was good. A Supercross final, my last year of racing, I made every Supercross final, except the indoors, which were only 8-rider spots. If I got lapped by lap 12, I thought I'd be doing pretty good. That'd probably sit me in mid-pack.
Yep.
So the freight train would start coming, and then it's like, all right, you start pulling over, and but man, just such fun and
such a good era for road racing and dirt racing in Australia. That was huge. Yeah. You look at the old photos of Oran Park for the road part of it. The hills were lined with people. Same with Emeroo. You touched on Emeroo motocross as well.
Yeah, raced Emeroo.
The crowds that used to get out and support events was massive, wasn't it?
Yeah.
What made Craig Jack so good?
It's funny that now that I'm older and know a lot of these pro guys from that era.
Yep.
I understand a mindset that the average rider doesn't have.
Okay.
So I don't have it. Mm-hmm. Okay. So I never won state titles. I won a vet state title in Queensland. But I never won championships. So I was your guy that was at the races. So the difference between those guys like Craig, Glenn, GB, a lot of the off-road guys, they just have a different mindset that they are going to be the fastest rider.
They just believe it.
They just believe it. Whereas I thought, right, if I train hard and I ride hard and I practice and practice and practice, maybe I'll get there one day. But they just went into it going, I think I can be the best. And I think Craig just had a stubbornness about him. And at that point, I mean, he was being accused of having an arrogance about him, but he was a pro athlete, mate. He was, the food on his table relied on his attitude and how he, conducted himself, and they were all, professionally. I mean, Gawley set that path for all those riders.
For sure. Still is a leader in the sport too.
Yeah.
Well, both of them actually are in their own right.
Yeah. And funny enough, I've never said good day to Craig Dack. So
really,
yeah, because he was just in his zone at the races.
Yeah,
he was just in his
the
thing,
racer.
and he was in his pits, and he was the one guy that didn't. Hey mate, how you going? He was just the professional racer, and I give that to him. Yeah, 100%.
For sure. Like you look at the results for the racing part, now the team part.
Yeah,
it's, he's obviously got some sort of an incredible focus there.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, huge respect.
Did you ever get across, maybe not to ride, but did you get across to the States to watch any of the outdoor or the Supercross?
Yes, I went to. I was over mountain bike racing in America in. I think it was 2000, maybe 99.
So I'll get to that too. When did you get into mountain biking?
When I stopped motocrossing.
Oh, really? It took straight up?
Just as fun. Fun. I just bought a mountain bike because they looked cool. They had these, so let's say in 1990, mountain biking was just getting underway, and I liked the motocross looking bars on these bikes, and I thought, I got to get one of them. So I just rode, living in Cooma, we had trails everywhere. I just went riding. Yeah. But, I got to watch Ricky Carmichael on a 125 at Glen Helen. Cool. I've got some photos I took there of Jimmy Button on the 400 Yamahas. So that era must have been maybe 99.
98, 99,
yeah. McGrath was there. It was at Glen Helen.
Yeah.
Sebastian Tortelli slaughtered everyone, and Ricky was... So that was cool to be able to watch that. Went over in 05 and watched Bubba, his first season on the 250s.
Yep.
Or the open class, but he was on 52
on the 250, yeah.
Yeah, so we went over and watched, went with a mate, watched a couple of rounds.
That was crazy, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Like that 05 season, and that was
nuts.
Yeah,
we were there at Phoenix when he broke his arm. We were
really?
In practice. Yeah, there was one section, a rhythm section that, Chad and Kevin and all those guys were pulled up, and Bubba was just smashing this thing, and then next minute he's over the bars, and that was it, broken arm. So...
Yeah, so you got to see a bit over there, though.
Yeah, so that was fun.
Glen Helen, that's a cool place, eh?
Glen Helen was cool. The funny thing was, we were there because Troy Lee put on a mountain bike event at that race. So I was there in mountain bike clothes. I was there as a mountain biker because we were there racing the Norbers, the National Off-Road Mountain Bike Association, mountain bike racing. So
this is 99. This is that event.
This is this off-road event. Yeah. So... good mate of mine, Michael Ronning, was a pro downhill racer, lives on the Gold Coast. He got an invite through Troy Lee to go to this thing. He goes, we got an invite to go to Glen Helen. I go, all right, cool, let's go. I didn't really make much note about that I was a motocross rider. I was a mountain bike guy now. And Troy Lee held a motocross event on one of the hills in Glen Helen at lunchtime. And it was a 4-rider downhill moto event on mountain bikes. So we went there to watch that. And
that's cool.
It was funny because midway through the last open class moto, Michael just goes, I'm done, man. And he started walking back to the car. So I was like, I'll just watch the rest of this, I think.
Yeah.
So, we weren't there to go, frothing to go to Glen Helen.
Yeah. Total different. Yeah, total different to what I would have expected you to say about that then. So.
Yeah. My head was mountain biking.
Yep.
We couldn't wait to get back up to Big Bear and go downhilling. So,
man, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Michael's from Giant
Narang. Yeah.
He's actually someone I'd like to get on here because he's got a bit of a killer story too.
And his friendship with Glenn Jacobs, good.
Yep.
That well and. He's a good guy. Mike and I spent a lot of time together. He lived with us for a little while, on and off, and just another pro athlete that just had that mindset, that
dedication,
want to be the best, and now he's doing well with his business, and I wish him all the well there. And we see each other once a month or so, and it's cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just got yourself a new mule from there as well.
Yeah. So can I touch on the e-bike subject?
Yeah, go for it,
cool
mate.
To go
you
there.
Can do whatever you want.
It's controversial. So, so I've been a mountain biker that's effectively 30 years.
Yeah.
E-bikes come out.
So you've seen the progression.
I've seen the progression, upside down forks, disc brakes, drop away from V-brakes, the whole progression.
Drop a post,
everything.
Yep.
So e-bikes come in and everyone's going, you got to try an e-bike. I go, mate, no. If I want power, I'll go ride my moto. Then mate of mine, I'm not going to say his name because he'd be embarrassed, but he rings me up one day and he goes, get an e-bike and come up to my place. Don't care where you get one from. Get an e-bike and come up. And I go, And he was pretty persistent. So I went, all right. So I rang Michael at Giant Terrain. I said, dude, can you lend me a bike for a day? He goes, yeah. He said, I've got a Giant Rain. Come and grab it. So I grabbed it, went it's up the Glasshouse Mountains. Rode the thing 50 meters, and I went, yeah, okay, I get it.
Straight away.
I get it. This shit's good. We went out and rode 2.5 hours. My heart rate was the same as it is when I normally mountain bike ride. You just ride harder and faster. That's all you do. So the argument of, you're not training, it's BS. So 2 weeks prior to that, I had just bought my wife a brand new Giant Trance.
And this is fairly recent. We're talking.
This is only
6 months.
Yeah, 6 months. Yeah. So bought my wife a new Giant Trance. Come home from riding the e-bike, and I just go, "We're selling your bike." And she goes, "It's brand new." I go, "If I put you on one of these things, you'll never ride that bike ever again." Yeah. So I that day ordered 2 new. I bought a Reign for myself and a Liv, whatever the female range of the mountain bikes are, the e-bikes for my wife, and so she can come out now and ride 2 hours, 2.5 hours, and have fun. And again, mate, if people, I've still got a really nice carbon Giant Trance. I just want to ride the e-bike because I want to go and have fun on my bike. And it's same as dirt bike riding, mate. It's, if you had the choice of pushing a 450 around QMP for 1 lap or riding it, I think you'd ride it.
You'd ride it for sure.
Yeah. So I love the e-bike. I still will ride my other bike.
Yeah.
But
there's a time and place for the other one in there.
Yeah. But we go riding with we've had a guy out with us a few times. He's like a whippet, and he rides with us on a normal cross country bike, and just I always go, "Do you want to rest, mate?" He goes, "No, I'm good. He just powers. So I ain't that guy. I'm 100 kilos, mate.
Yeah. No, it's one of those things. Like I see it as well, and a couple of different people I've ridden with.
Yeah.
And like I've ridden with a few like athletes, and I'm like, man, like I'm not an athlete. It'd be good to have an e-bike to be able to keep up, like. Because if someone's like an athlete, no matter what field it is, their fitness level is just incredible. They'll be able to do nearly the same as an e-bike, some of these people. And, mate, I'm going to get one.
Yeah. They're good. They're awesome. Awesome.
So mountain biking, where you said 30.
Yeah, so 30.
Because you went all in on this too, didn't you?
Yeah, we're sort of delving into my personality here of how I act and behave. So
what is that?
We'll bring that up a little bit further down, but basically I suffer bipolar and have struggled with that for quite a few years. But I wouldn't mind touching on that. But we'll just scoot through the mountain biking.
Yep.
I started mountain bike riding just for fun. Loved it. Loved the dynamic of it. It's cool. It's you're riding in boardies and shoes and having fun. Moved from Cooma to the Gold Coast, and me and a mate of mine started a tour business doing mountain biking.
Did you?
Yeah, it was called Off the Edge Sports Tours.
Yeah.
We used to drive a bus to the top of 3 hills at Nerang, unload people, go mountain biking. We went different paths after about 6 months. He took the business over and I went back being a Sparky. But I was out mountain biking one day, and there's a group of guys on the top of the hill. And I could see they were all getting ready to go down the old 3 hills downhill track. And I go, I'm not going to sit behind them. I'll get going. So I charged off, and these guys chased me to the bottom, and they pull me up and they go, "What's your story, mate?" I go, "What do you mean?" They were grilling me. I go, "I'm just riding, mate." They go, "Do you race?" I go, no, I'm just out here having fun. They go, "You should race." I go, "What?" They go, "Yeah, you should race downhill. You should come race. There's a race on this weekend." So I went, "All right, let's go race a mountain bike." So I had like a $400 mountain bike. It was a Diamondback Sorrento with an RST fork. It was just a pile of shit.
Suntour or whatever.
Yeah. So then with mountain biking, raced uphill on Saturday, cross country Saturday afternoon, and downhill on Sunday. All on the same bike. You just go out and race all 3 things. And I went,
nuts.
This is fun. I'm loving this shit. I then go to the newsagents and buy some mountain bike magazines because I like this racing thing. This was 1996. I remember this well because I picked up a magazine that had World Championships Cairns 1996. And I go, "Oh, that looks good." So I started flicking through, and I got kind of like the image of the Husky. I had the image now of this downhill scene and mountain biking, and just went, "This looks rad. I love this sport." The guy that talked me into mountain bike racing was coaching a heap of these top level elite mountain bikers. I rang him and I said, mate, I'm thinking of racing. I want to race. What's this race in Cairns? And he goes, yeah, it's the World Championships, mate. You won't get in. He goes, there's 5 positions for Australian riders. And he goes, how old are you? And I said, at that time I was 30. I was 33.
Yeah.
And he goes, there's a vet class over 30s. I can probably get you in with no results based on because I told him a bit about racing moto.
Yep.
He goes, give me your results from motocross. I'll see if I can get you in the Australian team. So from being a non-racer in about April, I then was racing the World Championships at Cairns in September that year in the vet class.
That's huge.
Now, I went there to race cross-country, dual slalom, and downhill. Downhill practice was first. I did one run on the downhill track. By now, I've bought a little bit better mountain bike. I bought a dual suspension Cannondale with 2 inches of travel front and back and V-brakes. I did one run of the downhill course, and I didn't even get the cross-country bike out of the box. And I just fell in love with downhill racing. Yeah. And then that just took off from there, mate. Then it was typical me. It was just all in. Yep. Downhill racer. Let's go racing downhill. And I bought a San Andreas. Was it Mountain Cycle San Andreas? And then I got upside down forks and disc brakes front.
She's a motocross bike.
Yeah, it's a motocross bike. Yep. And, I went racing in New Zealand and Spain and America and just out of my own pocket just to go and have fun.
Oh, right.
So, and I don't even know how I did all that, but that all happened and got to meet a lot of really cool people and know a lot of industry people, especially overseas. Got to meet a lot of people there and a lot of the top pro guys here in Australia that were racing overseas.
Yep.
Got to manage a couple of riders with their careers.
So how like you're a Sparky from Cooma that's done all this stuff. How did you get to managing like Nathan Rennie for one?
Yeah,
like, how did that happen?
So 1998, I go to race the Masters World Championships in Mont Saint Anne, Canada. Nathan is 17, still a junior rider. I've been given a contact at Big Bear with a team owner, and I was going over to plug Chris Kovarik, who had just beaten Australia's top downhill racers in a pair of board shorts, Dunlop volleys, and a flannelette shirt.
Seriously?
Yeah. So this kid was from Deception Bay and has just beaten guys who are World Cup level riders. So I was at the World Championships. Nathan was there with me. I said to Nathan, I rang Nathan's mum and I said, if I'm going to stay for 2 weeks and go to Big Bear, does Nathan want to come and hang out and just go mountain biking? So now I've got Nathan in tow with me. Yep. We finished the Worlds. I think Nathan finished second in the Junior Worlds that year. I went to Big Bear, met this guy that owned Crank Racing, QRANC Racing, and he had a GT downhill team. And I went into him and I said, I got these 2 kids from Australia, Chris Kovarik, Nathan Rennie, they're going to win races here in America. And he goes, mate, big call. I go, trust me, all we're after is bikes, accommodation, get them to their races, let them keep their prize money. And he goes, all right, you're on. So we did a handshake deal. I did it because these guys needed help. And we got them signed up with this team and they packed their bags and went racing mountain biking in America. And their first race at Mammoth Mountain, Chris Kovarik won it.
Straight away.
Yeah. And I believe that was a World Cup actually and won, beat like the best of the best at that time. And they both went on to do very well that year. End of that year, Chris we signed with Intense Bicycles. Yeah. Chris has been with Intense since then, which is pretty cool. Nathan went on and did his own thing with Yeti. He was sponsored by Yeti and rode for them for years, and then he looked after himself. I just basically looked after Chris because he needed someone to guide him and help him, and I was more like big brother. Got to know Jeff, that owns Intense, pretty well. Yeah. My payback was he'd give me a frame a year, which is rad. I'd get a brand new M1 Intense. So Chris was with Intense for a few years, and then Michael Ronning was out of a deal. So I rang Jeff and I said, I got Michael Ronning here, mate. Let's get him on a bike.
Yep.
And he goes, yeah, we haven't got much budget. And we got a figure and went back to Michael and said, well, I can get you this. And he goes, yeah, all right, let's go. So we got Michael signed with him as well. And
that's crazy.
It was just a fun time. Like I was just being a friend to these guys and helping out. I never asked for anything off any of their sponsors. It was their deal. So, but and then once I got their foot in the door, they were pretty self-sufficient. Yeah, Michael's a smart guy. He looked after himself from there, and I just gave moral support if they needed it. And
was there much money around the sport at that time?
Yeah, the boys were doing all right.
But really, there was.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
The years before that, Jeep was the main sponsor, and it was on ESPN, so it was a TV sport. Around that time, though, TV pulled out, so the big sponsors pulled out. But the guys could still make pretty good money.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were making a living for 4 months' work.
Where did you, and I know this is entwined in around the same era, where did you come across Ben Munro?
Ben Munro. So Ben exited the sport at about the time I came into the sport.
Because he was doing that as well, hey?
Yeah, so Ben's extremely modest, has a world championship to his name.
Does he?
So he is actually Ben Munro WC. It was a junior world championship.
Still a
downhill.
world championship.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Doesn't boast about it, mate. I would be wearing a WC t-shirt every day. Every day.
The crown.
Yeah, just mutual friends, mate.
Yep.
Just mutual friends. I mean, we'd pass each other, g'day Mal, g'day Ben. That was about our level of our relationship.
Oh, really? Yeah, because I knew there was some sort of change of the friendship started early 2000 anyway. So.
Yeah. And there was no phone calls. There was no hanging out on weekends. We just knew each other like you do in the industry with mountain biking. It's very much like motocross. It's a big brotherhood. It's a big family. Everyone knows each other. And if you're not a dick, everyone thinks you're all right. Yeah.
What were the tracks like at that time? Say a downhill course.
Pretty.
Like compare it to now. What do you think?
Yeah, man. I ride out at Mount Joyce a bit, and I went on the modern downhill track out there.
Yep.
And I just went, no, you guys can have that.
Really?
You guys can have that shit.
Yep.
I walked down some of it. I just went, I ain't riding down that.
Yep.
Yeah, it's different. The tracks were rideable, like tough, rideable, and fast. Now they're doing some big ass stuff, and it's the sport lifted.
Yep.
What they do in enduro now, in enduro mountain biking, is probably what we were doing in downhill.
Yep.
Okay, so rideable tracks. You're not taking big risks, and these guys now, man, full credit. It's a new man sport.
It's crazy. Like you look at the Crankworks events around the world.
Yeah.
Then some of the tracks that they're going to.
Yeah. I mean, man, when I raced, we did Kamikaze. I raced the Kamikaze at Mammoth Mountain.
Really?
So have you heard of that one?
I have heard of it.
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
It doesn't run anymore. Fire trail, 4,000 meters down to 3,000 meters, top speed, 120k an hour.
Oh man.
Fire road. Just pedal and tuck, and just two-wheel drifting around corners. And it was like the iconic. It was like the big wave surfing of mountain biking. That was the event. So me and a mate went over to that in 96 or 97. Yeah.
What's cool about mountain biking is the scenery too. Like the locations that mountain biking is at is always like I've ridden at Park City, Utah. Park City's an incredible, beautiful city.
Race there.
Did you?
Yeah.
Awesome facility.
Yeah.
You look at Mammoth Mountain, same thing.
Yeah.
One of the most beautiful areas in the world. Spain, Switzerland, where all the places they go. New Zealand obviously is fantastic.
Mountains and oceans, mate. They're the two spectacles on the planet.
Yep.
I believe.
Pretty lucky.
I rode when we went over in 2005 to watch the Supercross. We rented some dirt bikes and went and rode. We rode Paris.
Yep.
And some other dodgy track out in the middle of these factories.
Yep.
And it was just riding a dirt bike.
Yep.
It was dirt and it was a track. That was it.
Yep.
But mountain biking, you're going to these venues. Like,
it's incredible.
I rode to the top of Mammoth Mountain with a big group of guys. And because we went up there, it's 4,000 meter elevation. It's just incredible views. Rode up there on one day, rode back down, get back to the motel, and I'm going, I didn't have a look around. Like,
really?
I was on top of Mammoth.
Yep.
And I went back up the next day and rode up by myself. And later on, someone said you shouldn't do that because of mountain lions and bears. And I had the Australian attitude. I was going for a ride, mate. I'm going to go up and check it out.
Yeah.
And You know, and some people think there's a fireworks moment in their life that, you know, sitting on a rock and looking around off a mountain is a fireworks moment. It's like, this is it. This is
the best.
This is the best.
Yeah.
I have a photo of we went over with my daughters. They were 8 and 5. Mm-hmm. We've got a photo of them standing in the starting box at the top of Mammoth. And it's like, they you know, may have slight memory of it.
Yeah.
But, you know, snow-capped mountains are just unbelievable.
That was the same for me in Utah. I got up there, and I'm a photography person. I just stood there and I'm like, this is the best thing ever. You know, I'm a moto person, but I love mountain biking as well. And I'm like, this is the best. How do you beat it?
Have a look at the Quicksilver logo. Not many people know it's mountains and ocean. The triangle is a mountain, and there's a wave, which is the ocean, and it's like that sums up my life. I love the mountains and I love the ocean.
That's what you've chased.
Yeah,
especially growing up, I guess, in the mountains.
Yeah, and you know, motocross is cool, but it's usually in a dusty, dirty paddock somewhere. But the sensation of riding a dirt bike is pretty hard.
That's the best thing.
Hard to beat.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Now, earlier this year, tell me about a story of, didn't you swap a push bike or something?
Yeah, look.
What happened there?
Really quick one. Put a mountain bike up for sale for $50 or $100. I get on Facebook Messenger. A guy sends me a photo of a cap, 5 t-shirts, a pair of slides, and a couple of jumpers. He goes, "Will you trade this for this bike?"
Yep.
And I go, "Man, like, is this guy just taking the piss? Like, you know, you sell a bike, a guy wants to trade you a tinny and a Commodore. It's always this." So I'm showing it around to a group of friends. I'm going, have a go at this joke. And then I sat back and I go, why would this guy be giving up clothes for a push bike? So I get home, and in my quiet head, I send him a message and I go, "Hey mate, what's the go? Why are you trading clothes for a push bike?" And he goes, "Dude, I'm unemployed. I've got a job, but I need to get to work." And I go, "Oh man, like, I can't take this guy's clothes."
Yeah.
The cap's pretty cool, but I don't want it. So I said, "Tell you what, today's your lucky day. I'm going to gift you this bike."
Yeah.
And he texts back and he goes, "Dude, I am crying." And I said, "Well, meet me. Where can we meet?" So we met him at 9 o'clock the next morning.
Yeah.
His name was Darren. Like, Darren's had a hard life, mate. You can see Darren's going. He got a job at the Meatworks in Beanley and had to ride 6Ks to work.
Yeah.
We gave him the bike. He hugged me, hugged my wife, and did a wheel stand down the street. And I was just...
So he was legit.
Dude, like $100 in my pocket, I'll make this dude smile. And then getting messages a month later, still can't thank you enough. And like, I'm tearing up now, mate. Like, it's just cool shit to do. And I just wish I just encourage people to, you know, shout someone a coffee. Yeah. Stand behind someone at Starbucks and just go, "Hey, dude, I'll get you this coffee," or pay, just something nice. Yeah. The feeling you get is just such a good buzz.
Yeah, and that, you know, there's a movement now of pay it forward.
Yeah.
But it's not just that.
Yeah, this wasn't a movement.
There's no movement. This is just a thing. You know?
Let's help this guy out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
that was cool.
The pay it forward thing is a bit disingenuous. You know, now it's like a big thing. But mate, that is, and that is one of the things I said at the start. Like, the time I've known you, you are one of the kindest people that I know. Now, you touched on a bike that you just had before as well.
Yes.
Your brother had this XL175.
XL175.
Now, is that why you bought this one? Is there a bit of homage to the older brother or anything?
Quickly on this story, your interview with Andrew Wells.
Yeah.
Andrew's organising a ride up the Cape. I listened to your podcast and I go, I'm in. So I got in touch with Andrew and he goes, "Yeah, look, there's a few guys that want to go, but no one's pulled the trigger." 10 minutes later, I text him back and I go, "How's this Honda XL175 for pulling the trigger?" And he goes, "What do you mean?" I go, "I'm buying it." So I bought the bike. I bought this XL175. And it's what my brother had in whatever year. And it's what I've got now. And the plan is we're riding with Andrew. It's Andrew's initiative through the Adventure Garage. And we're going to ride a group of inappropriate bikes from Cairns to the Cape and back and just have a piss ball fun time. And we're hoping to get you there to video it.
Yeah, I'd love to. Yeah, that'd be... I spoke to Andrew last week. I'm about to do some film stuff for him.
Cool.
As soon as the border opens up again.
I've set the bar very low.
XL175?
Yeah, it's quite low.
I'd like to ride it, mate. It'd be an adventure and a half too.
So it's like a smelly dog. It's outside the garage at the moment because it's got a slight fuel leak. So it's sitting outside chained to a pole.
Oh, really? Yeah. It looks pretty tidy in the pics. Is it tidy or not?
It's pretty tight. It's been built out of 3 bikes. It was an XL175 Enthusiast. Just this enthusiast had no idea of what a bike Renault is. He thinks a can of silver spray paint fixes everything. So, but he did put a new piston and rings in it. Everything's genuine. It's got genuine XL handlebars. So I'm running it as it is. I had all these visions of long range tank.
Yep.
And I've just gone, it's 140 Ks between fuel stops. XL will do 240. So I'm good. I can run the stock tank.
Yep.
And I think the whole idea of what Andrew wants to do is have conversation pieces at every campsite we're at. So an XL175 is going to draw a crowd.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
that's
the idea behind that. Well, can't wait to do it. And yeah, kudos to Andrew for coming up with the idea, and I just can't wait to jump on board.
For sure, mate. And it'll be good. You know, you get a good couple of friends together. That's going to be a great trip.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
I believe there's a bit of a WhatsApp group floating around with it now.
Yes, there's bike photos being shared, and so at this stage there's me plus 2 on my side, and I think there's Andrew plus 1, but we'll probably try and cap it at about 10.
That's it.
Yeah, it's next June or July, depending on border openings, etc. But we'll make it happen.
What's the rules for it? Wasn't there? I think Andrew said to me there's a figure and then there's a spare parts figure or something.
Yeah, I think he set the figure a bit high, $3,000. So I paid 2.5 for the XL, and I feel I got ripped, but 2.5 for that, and you got a $500 spend budget.
Yep.
So thanks to my good friends at MX Store, I'm 2 tires, grips, tubes. Couple of little bits and pieces, $240 in, so I've still got $260 to go.
Yep.
So
nice.
Yeah.
Have you ridden it yet?
I rode it. We live in a rural estate with a bush block up the back. Rode up there and it conked out, but I think it was just a float issue. So,
okay.
But yeah, it'll be good.
What was it like to ride? Is it turning back time?
Yeah, it's fun, man. It's going to be. And I was going to put different bars on, but the bars are just on any Sunday. They're just straight out of on any Sunday, so they got to stay.
You've mentioned that twice now. That movie. I watched it once this week.
Yeah,
I watched it Monday night.
Life changing.
Again, I watched it a lot, but Monday night I got home from egg and spooning, as Ferg from here called it, around the flat track on Saturday.
Yeah.
And I thought, I'm going to watch how they used to do it.
Yeah.
It's such a movie.
What a cool. And how they used to race all disciplines to be AMA champion.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Right.
It was incredible.
Yeah.
Now, was this a Mal all-in moment? So what happens there?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yep.
You said it. It's all in.
All in.
All in. And it surprised the shit out of Andrew, because I think for his conceptual idea to, hey, let's maybe make this happen to this idiot's just bought a bike, we're in. And that started the fire. And now what's happened, there's rivalry with another guy. He's pissed that he didn't buy the first bike. So it's good. It's lit the fire.
Yep.
And that's what we wanted.
Awesome.
And, I know it'll sit outside of my shed for 6 months, but I don't give a shit. It'll be there, and I'll ride it, and I might go do some Vinduro on it, which would be fun.
Yep.
Ride it to Canunga and have coffee.
It's registered.
Yeah.
Of course it is.
Yeah, I'll go park it amongst all the Harleys, and that'll be sick.
Yeah, awesome.
Before
you buy your new one here.
I've earmarked one downstairs.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. Awesome. Now, you're a non-drinker.
Non-drinker.
How long?
2003, the year I was turning 40. Just one New Year's Eve, I was on pain medication for a bung knee.
Yeah.
We were on Burley Hill,
New
Year's Eve, and there was a friend of ours drinking non-alcoholic champagne. I went, that's cool. I'd never heard of this, and I couldn't drink, so I shared this with her, and I just went, right, New Year's res, 2 weeks. I'm going to go 2 weeks without drinking. And then I went 2 weeks, and I went, I'm just going to go for a month. And, I felt good. And then I went, you know what? I'm going to go 3 months. And then 3 months I was done. I was just like, I'm not a drinker now. So I just, for no other reason, it just didn't work for me. I wasn't a good drinker.
Yeah.
I was a binge drinker and smashed the shit out of myself. So for me, it was just doesn't work for me. And without it, to have constant clarity of mind, no feeling of concussion. Like that's what I just do not miss. Is, to me, being concussed is like waking up hungover, and that's a shit feeling. So I just flicked it out of my life, and I don't give a shit if people drink. My wife likes wine with dinner, and You know, that's it's just me. I don't smoke. I don't do drugs. I don't drink.
Yep.
It's pretty simple.
It's pretty clean cut.
Yeah.
Do you take any meds for bipolar?
Good question. I had for 10 years. There's a good Seth Rogen joke about that. He does a job interview, and he goes, "I'm happy to say I'm 6 months medication free." And, you know, but it was his choice. But it's literally 6 months I have been medication free.
Yeah.
And it's just something I monitor. I wasn't liking the continual feeling of vagueness that I had with the medication. I was getting a bit of double vision. So I just weaned off it and monitored it. And, you know, a lot of my depressive moments were circumstantial. So I sort of believe in removing those circumstances, and the good side of me is usually pretty good. And just, but unfortunately, it does make me buy XL 175s in 10 minutes.
500 Huskies.
500 Huskies in, you know, one day. But, you know, fortunately enough with my work, we're not rolling in cash, but fortunately enough, I can do a couple of little indulgences. So, yeah.
Yep. That's all part of it.
Yeah.
And you try and do other things for the mental health side of things and that as well, eh?
Yeah. Riding motorcycles.
Yeah, that's it.
Riding dirt bikes and having people around me and putting out a good vibe and
good people.
Yeah, just good people. Exactly, man. Just good people. And, you know, the people in our sport, it's a family. It's pretty cliched. Everyone says that, but it bloody is.
Yep.
It bloody is. So
one of the cool things I like seeing about you guys, and I see it online, is it's Diana, isn't it?
Yes.
Going out riding and that together on the mountain bikes.
Yeah.
That's it. That must be a good thing for you, hey?
Yeah, and she's been my, you know, pit tootsie since, you know, 1980.
She was there at the start.
Yeah, she's been with me since I started racing, and she didn't actually like off-road racing that much because she doesn't get to see me.
Yeah.
You know, it's not. She's more worried about me being out in the trees.
That's 40 years, mate.
Yeah, we've been married 36 years this year, so
wow.
Decent haul.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
So she was there in 1980, hey?
Yep. Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Did you ever go on the road side of things?
I've played on road bikes. I had a Honda Hornet.
Oh yeah.
But a mate of mine was a professional road stunt man, road bike stunt guy, and used to go past me wheel sitting on the handlebars.
Yeah.
And I just went, it just spooked me a bit. So I got into cruisers. I've had a Vulcan and a Boulevard, and I've also had a V-Strom. But I'd like one of those Harleys downstairs. I think that's going to be on the shopping list for sure.
Yeah, cool.
But, you know, whether I can get one in a year or something, I'll just set a goal and try and get one. But, yeah.
Awesome.
I think the cruiser thing would suit me because you're restricting your speed. Yeah, you can't go diving into corners. Whereas anything that's got a good bit of speed, I feel like I want to go fast. But on the cruiser, I feel pretty safe and...
Yep.
Yeah,
makes sense. I rode one of the baggers the other week. Actually, I rode it up to McCoy's Cafe up at Kooyar, and like, man, that's unreal.
Yeah.
Like, that was the first bagger I think I may have ridden. But yeah, it's so good for the street.
Yeah, and Di loves sitting on the back and going for rides and go up Mount Tambo and.
You are the ultimate couple with all that sort of stuff. You know, you do so much together, eh?
Yeah, there's a little bit of a thing about, you know, how the success of a good marriage is stay the fuck away from each other. That's an American comedian's line, but it's you know, you just got to give yourself a little bit of space and just enjoy the things you do together, and it works.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Now we met at Ride for Luca.
Yeah.
Hey, how good's he going? Hey,
man, it's just good to see he's a kid.
Yeah.
And you can just follow him and his family on Instagram and just go, you know, yourself included, we all had a part of that. And it was such a great journey to be on with a fantastic outcome that could have gone. It was a coin flip.
Yeah, it was. It really was. And you see, you know, such humble, beautiful people to get a result like that in the end.
Yeah.
Is the best thing you can have.
Yeah.
So was that a good thing for you? Like you did a lot behind the scenes with that.
Yeah, so, look, I only just started to follow Luca. He only had an Instagram page about a week or two before he got sick.
Yeah.
And I was showing my wife, and I'm like, this is Ben's little boy, Luca. He's such a cool rad kid, you know, hang 10 on a skateboard and surfer. And then a week later, there's Ben with Luca in children's hospital.
Yep.
on it getting an MRI, and I'm just sending Ben a message going, what's up here, dude? And he goes, yeah, I'll tell you tomorrow. And anyway, that's when they got the diagnosis of Luca being sick. I felt I just wanted to do something. I didn't know what. So the next day I was racing Sunny State, Queensland. Thought I'll just get some jerseys if I can and get some autographs and give it to this kid to make him smile. That was literally the start of Ride for Luca. We put on this board, #Ride for Luca.
Yep.
Monday, I had Gavin Eels help me out. We got stickers made. They designed them. And we started this fundraiser through one of Ben's friends in Byron Bay, Ilky. She formed the GoFundMe.
Yep.
Brought everything together. And then, I was sitting there going, this kid's sick. What happens if this kid gets sicker and we're invested, like we're emotionally invested in this, but it's like, well, I'm committed. I'm committed, so I'm in. So I started spreading it on Facebook and Instagram and just said, get behind this kid. Yep. Here's the GoFundMe. Let's support this family. Luca's mum went to hospital when he was diagnosed sick from Lennox Head, never went home for 9 months. That they still had boxes of a house they were moving into that she never unpacked. So she didn't go back to work. This family needed support. And it's like, well, let's do something.
Yeah.
Let's do something. And I just went, I'm going to draw on the motorcycle community and let's let this kid's a little moto nut. Let's get behind it and back it.
And that's where, when you say it is a family, the moto thing, that's where it really shines through.
Surprised the shit out of me, mate.
Yeah.
Like I was borderline embarrassed thinking if this only raises $50, it's just, I'm going to feel terrible. Yeah. And on the Monday we raised, $1,000 and I cried. I just went, this is going to get traction. And then we had, a couple of thousand shares on Facebook. We raised over $150,000. Ben donated money back to the Children's Cancer Foundation. We did which you filmed with. Yep. We had
went to Starlight.
Yeah, Starlight with Jay Wilson jumped on board, and Jay was one of the first riders who signed our board back at the very first day.
Yeah.
And Mike Ward, Yamaha manager, rang us the next day and said, Jay's in. If there's anything you want, let us know. So 6 months later, Jay was obviously hands up to come and do the hospital visit.
He's kind-hearted. Like, I spoke to him after that event, and he's like, mate, if you, anything that the family needs, or if you hear of anything, I'll be there.
Yeah, and it's
awesome
cool.
person.
And I see Jay now at a QMP training, and I always go and say good day, and he's just such a obliging fellow. And full thanks to him and to Justin Brayton coming out was just amazing.
Yep.
And it was cool. And now it's just life is normal for Luca. Gets his checkups and he's good and riding bikes and surfing and fishing, and it's just so rad now to be a spectator. Yeah,
to sit back and see the journey, how it's unfolded now is awesome.
Yeah. I speak to Ben probably once every couple of weeks, and it's just to have been part of that, to see Transmoto, for example, jump on board. Transmoto cop a lot of shit about taking the money. They take money off. They do an amazing event, but there's a bit of a vibe about, it's expensive. I mean, they donated, there was $9,000 raised at that Transmoto Conondale that you were at. They gifted the entries to 7 teams of riders, which is how I met, a lot of Luca's friends from the Byron Bay area, and it's Andrew was one part of the team of that, Andrew Wells, and that's how I got to meet him. And it's just so rad, mate. And great support. It was you just want to do that full time.
Oh, if you could, it'd be
exhausting at the same time, because it is a mental strain when it's over. It's like actually funny thing, I think it could have been the day maybe you were at the hospital, and Ben had to go in and wait for. No, it was a different day. Went in. It was Luca's final clearance.
So you ring the bell.
Yeah, so we went in for that, and we sat out in the waiting room with Usa, Luca's mother, Larita, his sister, and Luca and Ben went in, and then Ben came out and just went like this after an hour, and I lost my shit. I ran down a corridor. and just just bawled my eyes out, mate, just thinking, wow. And then I come back, so I'm going, right, I'm good, I'm cool.
Yeah.
And I come back, and Ussa hugged me and just said, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
And just broke my heart, So then we went out and did the ringing of the cancer bell, and it was a good vibe. But then, you're watching the next family roll in.
Yeah.
And you spent a day there with us, and you saw it, and it's just, man, like people that sit out and bitch about how tough their life is, and get a grip.
Yeah, get off the sideline. See the real stuff,
Yeah, so, from that, I mean, I've adjusted my life a little bit where I tend to, I have a reputation for not giving a shit, and I just give a shit a lot less. It's, because it's like, man, really?
Yeah. Yeah, there's no point getting hung up on stuff that is just no point.
Yeah, and that kid, Luca, like, his life's going to go on, and I think I've said to you before, I'd just love to be at his 21st, and for him to go, who's that guy?
Yeah.
and then Ben go, yeah, well, Mal sort of like, that'd be fun. But
because seeing him, I got to see him ride. We filmed the ending for the riding. His hair had grown back.
Yeah.
Mum and dad are there, and like, that was one. My short filming sort of thing.
Yeah.
By far, that's the...
Watched it last night. I showed a family friend last night.
Yeah, that was, while I was editing it, certain parts, I was like, oh man, this is hard. Like, listen to, yourself talk for the interviews, and Tony, Ben's mate Tony.
Yeah. Ben Carso and I rode together in our team. Yeah.
Tony Carson.
Tony Carson, yeah.
Listen to him talk, and he was going through his own things.
Yeah.
And you're in it. You've got headphones on, you're editing all this stuff up of all this very emotional stuff. It was a very touching thing to do.
Yeah.
And it's good, great. It was fantastic to be a part of,
Yeah.
So,
I mean, that's literally where you and I met.
Yep.
Was a guy called Mick's going to be there. He's going to do some
Mick.
film of you. And I go, all right, cool. Who is he? So
it turns out once you got there, half the crew were people that hung around. There's a young fella down in Ballina, so that was pretty cool. So most of those guys.
It was good, man. It was good to be part of, and I encourage... What I'm proud of the most, it was, one of my crazy little ideas, but it took off and got traction and worked amazingly well. And, it never once was it about me.
No.
Actually, one of the coolest things, I was at an off-road race and I had Ride for Lucas sticker on my bike. And a chick come up to me, this young girl that was riding, she goes, I've been following that kid on Instagram.
Yeah.
And I went, it's so good. That's
just
so
out of
good.
the blue.
Out of the blue.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. And to me, that was like, there you go. It's not about me whatsoever, because, I may get accused occasionally of having a bit of a powerful ego, but it's not, it's just, that was all about helping this family. But you got to put yourself out there to do that as well. And we did that, and it was good to see so many people come together.
100%. It was fantastic. Yeah. Well, mate, I think this is a pretty good time to wind things up as ever. We've waffled on for an hour and probably hour 35.
Part one.
Oh, at least, like we could literally talk for hours. You've got so much history there.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming in, and it's always a pleasure to talk to you, because you are always a positive person, and always just around the sport that I love. So it's good.
Cool. Can I bring something up with you as well?
Depends on what it is.
Okay. So with my work, I travel out west a lot.
Yep.
So I got about a 6-hour drive out, 6-hour back.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect timing for 2 podcasts. So I have my regular podcasts I listen to.
Mm-hmm.
So knowing you, knowing your personality, I'll give Mick's podcast a bit of a crack.
Mm-hmm.
So, man, I've never listened to anything where it's not about the interviewer.
Mm-hmm.
And I just love it. I love it, the fact that your ego is not involved in these interviews.
Thanks.
And it just makes it such a pleasurable listen. Whereas a lot of other podcasts, and I'm sure you're aware of the ones I'd be, there's some American ones and other Aussie ones, and it's more about the person, and the interviewee is almost second rate. But this is, you make it about the interviewee, and I think you just do an amazing job, and I just wish you the best of luck with it, mate. And maybe when I buy a Harley here, you get a little bit of commission on it, would be fantastic. So. It's
very humbling. Thank you, mate.
Yeah, cheers.
I don't need I don't compliments are hard to deal with. And
Yeah.
you know that as well.
Yeah, No.
But thank you so much.
Yeah.
And we'll leave
I
it
enjoy
there.
it. I enjoy it. I've listened to about 6 of your podcasts. And
Fantastic.
What have you up to, 12 now? 13?
This will be 15. This will be 16 today. This will
Yeah.
be my 16th one recorded.
Awesome.
And this will come out in probably 3 weeks. I've got a few in the bank now,
Yeah,
which
cool.
is nice. It's nice to have a couple tucked away.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Awesome.
Once again, thanks, mate. And
No worries.
take care of yourself and
Yeah,
your
cheers.
lovely wife. See you, mate.
No worries. Cheers.